There's a good chance that if you work at a desk all day or sit down for a lot of your day, your bad posture is making your shoulder hurt and weaker. Dr. Nicholas Mercer with uImproved PT. So that's life now. We have to sit down, we have to work at a desk, we have to be looking at our phones all the time. It's the world we live in now. And this world that we live in is not conducive to proper shoulder movement. There's a few reasons why this poor posture can be interfering with your shoulder movements. But that doesn't mean that we have to live a life of shoulder pain and poor posture all the time. So in this video, I'm going to kind of explain why we get these dysfunctional shoulder movements from sitting down for a lot of our day, looking at our phones, looking at a computer, and having to type and write, and how we can start to reverse this and make the shoulder more functional and less painful, and ultimately make it stronger. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, and share this video and subscribe to the channel. All of those interactions tell me to make more content like the video that you're watching. If I see a video has more interaction, that tells me you want to see more of that content. Let's first talk about the rib cage, the abdominal muscles. You may be thinking, I thought we were talking about the shoulder. Why are you bringing up the rib cage? The reason I bring up the rib cage is the scapulothoracic joint. While not a true joint, it does articulate with the rib cage. You have your ribs here, you got your scapula here, and it has to glide along the back, just like so. When we sit, basically all our abdominals are shut off. We get weakness in the rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, internal obliques, and external obliques. And a few of these muscles, particularly the obliques, will help to pull down the rib cage and make sure your rib cage is neutral. If we don't have that stabilization, we get flaring because those abdominal muscles are not trained to pull down the rib cage. Again, what does this have to do with the shoulder? If our rib cage flares, our shoulders will just go with it and our shoulders should still be fine. The problem is this. My setup is pretty good ergonomically. However, I still find myself throughout the day doing this. Right? My shoulders have to round forward in order to do all of this work that I'm doing. Now, I don't have to round forward, but that is the position that I usually take because it's more comfortable. I don't need to use as much muscle. So what we get is the rib cage flaring back, the shoulders rounding forward, and we're basically left with this. We're left with a shoulder, and specifically a scapulothoracic joint that is not laying flat. So we have our rib cage here. You see my little ribs or my fingers? We have the scapula here. We want it to do that, right? We want it to do this. But now our rib cage is starting to flare forward and our shoulders are rounding. You may even notice that right up through here, if you do some shoulder movements, you get a lot of grinding. That's essentially the scapula and the rib cage hitting each other and running into each other and grinding and making some not very comfortable movements, sounds, or sensations. So ultimately, what do we do to fix this? What can we do to improve the gliding of the scapulothoracic joint on the ribs? And why is that so important? That scapulothoracic joint is so important because it's responsible for an entire third of your shoulder movements. What do I mean by that? If I'm bringing my arm up like this, right? This much is from my glenohumeral joint, but the rest is from scapulothoracic joint. That joint needs to be able to glide up to allow that shoulder complex to function properly. And if that scapulothoracic joint isn't functioning properly, we're going to get a lot of stress on the glenohumeral joint. So we have this combination of just the rib cage and the scapula kind of like grinding and not really being in a really stable position, combined with a glenohumeral joint that wants to help you get as much movement out of that shoulder as possible, but having to compensate for that dysfunctional scapulothoracic joint. So now that we have kind of an understanding of what's going on and why this poor posture is making your shoulder hurt, dysfunctional, and ultimately weaker, we can start to reverse that throughout your day. No, I am not going to make you hold a perfect posture all day. That's not feasible. But assuming we have a pretty good ergonomic setup here are a few things that you can be doing to offset this poor posture and get your shoulder better. The first thing we want to do is kind of throughout your day, practice some abdominal bracing. We basically want to tell the abdominal muscles, hey, look, you still need to work. You still need to pull that rib cage down, even though you don't need to do it all the time. But you still need to be able to do it. So we're going to start sitting nice and tall. If you've got some lumbar support in your chair, that's good. If not, that's okay. You want to scoot back as far back into the chair as possible. And all you want to do is push your lower back into the back of the chair. And what that'll do is activate these muscles in the front, activate some of the internal obliques to pull that rib cage down and stabilize that rib cage in a neutral position instead of being flared all day like this. Just kind of adding those throughout your day, a few sets of 10 holding for 3 to 5 seconds will train those muscles to still be able to stabilize the rib cage without having to hold this contracted position all day. So we've got the rib cage in a little bit of a better position. Now, how do we help out the scapulothoracic joint? Well, we're going to start out by getting that activation through the stomach, right? So get that rib cage pulling down, but we're not going to be leaning up against our backrest anymore. So pull that rib cage down, and then we are going to let those shoulders pull back. So we're combining some abdominal contraction to allow that rib cage to come down into a neutral position. And at the same time, we are going the opposite of a rounded shoulder into a retracted shoulder here. So holding that posture, the rib cage in neutral, pulling those shoulders back and down, holding for about 3 to 5 seconds and then relaxing. Doing a few sets of 10 throughout the day is going to optimize your shoulder movements and ultimately take you out of pain, make that shoulder work like a shoulder, and allow those muscles to get stronger so that you're no longer moving with pain. So try those throughout your day, especially if you have to sit for a long time or work at a desk. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to uImproved PT. We are constantly posting videos about getting out of pain, moving better, and becoming more functional so you can live a long, happy, active life, free from pain and dysfunction. Check us out on all the social medias and on our website, uimprovedpt.com, for more free information on ending shoulder pain, but also various other different types of pain. Links to everything are going to be in the link tree in the description below. Keep watching our videos. Continue improving your body so that you can move more, pain less.